Okay, we're going over to Ishan. Ishan, over to you.
These are the visuals that we're getting to you from the spot where the police is now going into these lanes to check from where they came. This is the possible way through which these militants entered. Now, a search operation has been launched in the entire vicinity. Let me also show you, this is that particular office building where these militants came and opened fire at him. And this is the possible exit route that these militants have taken. Now, senior officials are at the spot. They have rushed here to check from where they came and to make sure that these two militants, which the police is talking about, are tracked down, because there have been a number of attacks that have taken place recently. And now the police, you can see the sort of locality this is. There are small, lanes which connect to one office to another, and that is why it must have become tricky. They must have climbed these walls, and that is why now police is trying to assess the entire location, trying to see that where they came from and from where they exited, because this is now a continuous targeting on these Kashmiri Pandit community in Kashmir. We are told that they were, he was employed here at this location, and that is why it's important to search these entire area. Now, police has launched a joint operation in this vicinity to check and make sure that if there are any militants lying here, they are able to track them down. But you can see that, these are the exclusive visuals that we are getting to you, that policemen are climbing these walls and seeing that, there's a possibility of these militants have climbed from the same area and come here, and that is when, they attack him. And you can see these are the exclusive visuals that we're getting to you from the spot. We're at this location. You can see policemen jumping from this wall and trying to see that, if they could have used this particular route to come here. This is the locality, and you can see now policemen tracing the entire area, making sure that if there are any attackers in the locality, they could be taken down. But at the same time, you can see this is the possible route that we're showing you. This is the first channel showing you that these are the routes through which they have climbed this area. And this is what police suspects, that they came from here and came from this area. Look at the vegetation here. And then, they reached that particular building and where he was sitting in his room, Rahul, and opened fire at him. We are told that a pistol was used to commit this crime, and after which they have likely taken this exit. One, because the road outside is, there are a lot of people outside. I'm sure that there are also CCTV cameras which are in the vicinity, and that is why it must have become tricky for them to go from the main exit route. But now they have entered from the backside, as I showed you, where from the policemen have just climbed and trying to check the backside of this building and trying to know that where they really came from. But this is the office that I'm showing to you. This is the Tehsil office where he was working at. This is the office of the Tehsildar Executive Magistrate Chadoora, and now it has been locked. Police has taken the entire area into cordon, and they are seeing from where they have come from and where they have escaped, because now top officials have also started to come here. We're told that Rahul has come to his injuries because he had come under a package of government to make sure that Kashmiri Pandits are rehabilitated. And that is why he had come to this part of Kashmir Valley. He was living here, and now top officials are also checking to what really happened during that moment. Now again, the same area we're told that has been used. This is the lane from where these militants came and opened indiscriminate fire at him. Recently, we have seen that police tried to track down these militants who were already responsible for several, attacks on Kashmiri Pandits, Kashmiri Hindus. And now again today, after a brief lull, once again, such attacks taking place. Back to you.
Ishan, let's stay with these pictures. The only channel to be reporting from the attack site. Take us through the sequence of events as they played out and the possible inputs that the police have on the terrorists.
Yes, one can see the search operation that is being taking place here in the Chadoora Tehsil office. In fact,
well, you can see now this search operation is being conducted. This is the special operation group of the Jammu and Kashmir police, which is carrying out this particular search operation. This is the locality we are told that the policemen are seeing that they have come from this area, and that is why it becomes important for them to reach and to finish this locality, to search the locality and to see. Now see, top officials are being shown the vicinity and shown that from where they might have come. The sort of locality that exists here, close vicinity, and you can see now policemen again climbing the wall. One more group of J&K police special operation group going into the area and trying to examine that where they really came from and what transpired during that moment, because it's an important location where this attack has taken place. And you can see now the police has got into action because this attack came from after a very, very long time. Earlier, we have seen that in different parts of Kashmir Valley, where the militancy is high, a number of attacks have taken place. But today, we are seeing that in Budgam now, where we haven't seen of these militants. This is where now this attack has taken place. Now, police is trying to see, what really happened at that moment. And this is the possible route which every policeman is pointing at, that where from they have escaped. And that is why they want to thoroughly check this area to make sure that these attackers are not there. And this is exactly outside this particular building where this incident unfolded. But the search area has been widened. They are trying to check, from where they came from, because that is the only possibility that there was a loophole in this particular vicinity from where they entered this particular office here, which has been locked down by the authorities. A lock has been placed there. This is the same room where he was sitting inside, and then fires were opened at him, same entrance used by the militants to enter. You can see this is the office of Tehsildar Chadoora, and this is the same locality, where they came in from this door, entered inside, he was sitting. He must have been identified by them, because generally what happens is they recce the area, they check where they have to come from, wherein the information is provided by the overground workers about their presence, and that is when these militants came and then opened fire at them.
Right, Ishan, so it was well planned, like you're telling us. A recce was conducted already. There were other people in the office as well, but they pinpointed and reached Rahul Bhat, specific targeting of Rahul Bhat for being a Kashmiri Hindu.
Well, yes, that seems to be the move, because we have seen in the past as well, whenever such kind of attacks have unfolded in Kashmir, it's a well-planned and well-thought-out moves generally, wherein the information is provided, and then we have seen in the past incidents also that on the information that is provided, that militants try to carry out these attacks. So it's very clear that they did not use the main entrance to enter or exit this particular place, because outside we have generally police presence, and also there are a lot of people who are in the vicinity, and that is why they have entered from this small lane. Using that lane, they entered here, 2 in numbers, and then because generally what happens is that one goes inside, one stays outside, just in case there is any possibility of somebody coming, police coming, CRPF coming, or army coming immediately. And that is why this particular had 2 militants who came here and opened indiscriminate fire.
Okay, we're the only channel reporting from the attack site, Ishan. Let's also take in a word from Pradeep, because Pradeep, there are apologists out there already, even though, as Ishan has been telling us, this was a targeted killing of the Kashmiri Hindu in an office where there were other people as well. Rahul Bhat was identified and shot at. But despite that, there are apologists who are calling it not a targeted killing.
That's really unfortunate. These apologists are the ones who are not only providing oxygen to ecosystem of terror, but they're also encouraging and emboldening such elements. Everybody knows what really happened a few months back in school. They identified that Sikh principal as well as a Hindu teacher, then they opened fire and killed them on spot.
Absolutely.
And the same thing had done in this case also.
Hindu, and that's what Ishan has been telling us as well. Pradeep, stay with us. Ishan, take us through what's happening there right now. The police officials have arrived there. Like you were telling us, they're looking at where the terrorists escaped from.
Well, absolutely right. The top priority for the police now is investigation, because we have seen the attack has unfolded again in Budgam, and now the shift has focused to investigation. They are trying to get leads, as many as possible. And I'll ask my VJ to show you once again. This is the office of the Tehsildar Executive Magistrate. The same entrance used every day by people who visit the Tehsildar for different work. There's a lunch break between 1 to 2 in the afternoon, and they chose towards the evening part of the day to carry out this attack. Now police is seeing that there's a presence that they have escaped from this route, because there were other employees also in this vicinity who came here and saw from attackers, must have seen that they have escaped from this locality, and that is why this entire area on the back side of this particular office has been cordoned off to carry out search operations. So SOG of the Jammu and Kashmir police has gone into this vicinity. There will be investigation also carried out apart apart from the security perspective, how did they manage to reach her? Because generally there's a deployment made during the daytime, and militants don't try to carry out attacks during the daytime. But today they came here during the daytime, opened fire, used the back route of this particular office to escape after firing at Rahul. Now the entire area, CRPF teams are also being deployed here. We'll move to the other part, where from now CRPF and Jammu Kashmir police are jointly carrying out a search operation. But what generally happens in these attacks is that police and militants come here, they attack and then try to escape as soon as possible, and that seems to be the case here as well. Now the search has been widened. Police is trying to get clues as much as possible to figure out that who are the people responsible for this, because Budgam more or less has been very peaceful when it compared to Pulwama, Shopian and other districts of South Kashmir. This central Kashmir district is generally peaceful, but attack happening here is something which will worry security agencies. Now again we are seeing that after a brief lull of attacking minorities and civilians, once again it seems to have started. But will the police be able to control it as soon as possible? That remains to be seen, but something which will definitely worry security forces in Kashmir.
Right. So, as you're telling us, Eshan, very, very targeted killing, and the fact that it is in Budgam is also a clear message being given out that peace will not return. An office that was full of people, Rahul Bhat being isolated, taken out and being shot at.
Well, yes, he was here, he was sitting in his office, and precisely he seems to be the target. Now, it's not that all of a sudden or all of a random that he was targeted. There must have been, a recce done in the area. There must have been a thoughtful process, followed by them to come here, and then they must have known that who is the person that they want to target. That seems to be precisely the case here at this particular office, where they came here, opened fire, and managed to escape. Generally now we have seen that there has been a change in the trend, where now small arms are being used. Now pistol is what police says that was used to commit this crime, and open fire at him, and because of the AK-47 being large in size and difficult to carry for them in the urban areas or in a marketplace, and that is why pistol seems to be a weapon of choice, and that seems to be the case very well here, where the police is saying that they came with a pistol, opened fire and exited from this particular lane, and police is now checking the entire locality to know whether they are in the vicinity. But as I was pointing out earlier, that generally what happens is they open fire, they try to see the safe exit route to leave here, and that is why police has been generally saying that there are a lot of pistol-borne modules operational in Kashmir Valley, which are very dangerous and have been given precision targets to what to target and what not to target. So that is why it becomes important for the police to investigate the entire scene, that to what really happened, whether or not there are any CCTV cameras. Now, if they have taken this route, which police suspects is the case, then it's difficult for them to see if there are CCTV cameras around this vicinity, because it's a local vicinity, this is where people live, and that is the market's place. But police does not want to leave any clue, investigation behind. They want to make sure that if there are CCTV cameras in the vicinity, they are thoroughly checked, and they see that, if they can get any more clues from this particular location.
Now, Ishan, I just want to come back to you for a few seconds here before I bring in Aarti Tikku and, of course, Mr. Pandit and our other guests on the show. Now, I just want you to tell me, go over the facts once for our viewers at the top of 6 as we report a very big story, viewers. A targeted killing in a government office of a Kashmiri Hindu for no other reason because of his faith. Now, this is unprecedented. We haven't seen something as dastardly as this over 3.5 decades. And Ishan, I want you to tell us how these individuals got inside this office complex. What happened once they got inside this office complex?
I'll ask my VJ to follow me, and I'll show you exactly what the police suspects in this case has happened. This is a small by-lane which takes behind. There's one more office housing. There's a building there which houses another office, and that is where the police suspects these militants came from. This is exactly the location from where they suspect that these militants came to this location, and then entered inside this particular building. They were 2 in numbers, were carrying pistol. Again, I'll repeat that pistols are something which is worrying police from some years, because the entire modules have shifted from using generally AK-47 rifles. Pistols are easy to carry and a weapon of choice in the rural and urban warfare that we are seeing unfold in Kashmir. And particularly targeting civilians. Most of these killings in the Kashmir Valley in the recent past have taken place using pistols and from a very close range. Recently, a cop was shot dead in Srinagar. Again, use of pistol, and this is something which is worrying the police. And then from using this lane again, they enter. This is exactly the door from where these militants entered, 2 in number. We don't know whether both of them fired at him. Police is investigating that matter, but police is clearly saying that they were 2 in numbers, and then they opened fire at him, because generally what happens is that both of them don't enter inside. One stays outside as a backup option, even if there are security forces who try to enter. So he's able to provide cover, and they're able to leave this locality. And that seems to be precisely the case, that they came here, opened fire, and then escaped from the same route, so that there is no CCTV camera footage, there is no evidence that they leave behind. But police has sealed the entire building, and the entire locality is being searched. Now, Rahul was part of, Prime Minister's Kashmiri migrant job package. Several of them came to Kashmir Valley on assurances of the government that they will be provided job, that there will be relief for them, and then they will be able to live in Kashmir Valley. But what we have seen from the recent months, that there has been targeting of Kashmiri Pandits, Kashmiri Hindus. There was a continuous targeting of Kashmiri Pandits. Then a Kashmiri Hindu was also killed in Budgam. Now, they have been living here from several years. They did not migrate during the violent times, but they are also being targeted. And Budgam is not so volatile as compared to other areas of South Kashmir for the likes of Pulwama, Shopian. But here also, it seems like that they know that how to strike, where to strike, and precision targeting, because this is not an isolated incident. We have seen similar incidents unfold where government employees are targeted. We saw that a Sikh lady and a Kashmiri Pandit man was targeted in downtown area of Srinagar some months back, and that also sent shockwaves around across the country. And then also, police said they are trying to review the security of these Kashmiri Pandits, trying to get them security cover. Remember, Rahul was living under a secure accommodation in Sheikhpura area of Budgam, and that is where many Kashmiri Pandits live in colonies. Now, there have been several talks about providing security to Kashmiri Pandits. Many of them were given close localities, close offices, so that these attacks don't unfold. But now what we are seeing is that despite in this particular district he lives, that attack has been made, and there have been continuous targeting of Kashmiri Pandits. And now what will be the worry for the security forces will be that this district has been by and large peaceful. Now attack happening here is something which will definitely disturb them. But we were getting reports that there are, security forces were getting reports that there are certain inputs that, in Srinagar, the atmosphere is being made to make it volatile. More youths are being trying to recruit, and that seems to be the case here in Budgam, where possibly a pistol-borne module could be responsible for killing of Rahul Bhat.
Pistol-borne module. Look at the changing pattern here, viewers. It's almost chameleon-like. Now, just stay on with me, Ishan. I want to bring in Aarti Tikku. Mr. Pandit remains with us. Aarti Tikku, there has been a massive investment in the last 2 or 3 months in mocking a movie called The Kashmir Files. All mainstream politicians have come out and said that this is a work of fiction. But when they mock Kashmir Files, they trivialize genocide. The genocide that is ongoing and endemic now, almost, to Kashmir. Here is an individual like Rahul Bhat, who was brought in as part of the attempt to normalize Kashmir, to make it more cosmopolitan. But he is being targeted, hunted down by the bullet of Islamophobia, of Hinduphobia. There is no other way of looking at this.
Absolutely, Rahul. What is quite clear is that the systematic genocide against Kashmiri Hindus in Kashmir continues. What is also clear is that Islamic Jihad continues to motivate these mercenaries who are selectively targeting Kashmiri Hindus in Kashmir. The third point that is very apparent today is that there is a frustration, there is a desperation on account of the fact that India has, for once in 2019, India took a decisive decision of nullifying Article 370, and after that, several measures have been taken to reverse the genocide committed against Kashmiri Hindus. One including, several measures. I will just count a few. The banning of Jamaat-e-Islami, the banning of JKLF, the crackdown on terror funding, and of course, the fact that several people who were involved in terror and terror factories and terror network were penalized and prosecuted. And fourth, the mainstream political parties and politicians who were responsible for keeping all these terror networks alive, they are also today out of their jobs. So there is a desperation, there is frustration. All these mercenaries who were being supported by this entire nexus between the mainstream political parties, Pakistan and Western powers, they are today desperate because they would like to see the pot of conflict alive and kicking in Kashmir. And that is why they would not like peace, they would not like normalcy, they would not like Kashmir.
And there is a whole ecosystem invested.
Absolutely.
Aarti Tikku will tell you this. Whole ecosystem has been invested in corseting these hate mongers, these Islamist hate mongers that want to turn the valley into a caliphate. And how are they corseted? They are invited for peace talks. Sushil Pandit will tell you he's been following this entire arc for the last 3.5, 4 decades. And he's been bashing his head against the wall, securing justice for the community, but got nothing. Why? Because everyone in a certain grouping have either gone and hugged these separatists, Congress leaders, PDP leaders, National Conference leaders, or viewers. They have tried to rationalize these killings by suggesting that this is born out of alienation. This is not born out of alienation. This is born out of xenophobic hate for another religion, another faith. It is born out of an intolerance for India's pluralistic secular traditions. Everywhere else, viewers, they talk about Islamophobia. They never talk about Hinduphobia here. Why? You have to begin to ask yourself that question. I'm coming out to you, Sushil Pandit, in just a few moments. Sanam Shah is also with us. Sanam Shah, how do you see this? Where do you see this coming from? Sanam bhai, I think you're muted. Can you unmute yourself? Yes, Sanam Shah, go ahead. Where is this coming from? Okay, we're not being able to hear him. I think we're not being able to hear you. I don't know why we're not being able to hear you. But let me go back to Mr. Pandit, Sushil Pandit, as I asked you, where is this coming from?
We've been making these points, Rahul, for several years. And I think time has come to look at some more aspects, some more dimensions of it. Though we hold jihad responsible for these brutal killings of innocents, I think time has come to ask this question: who has put these innocent, defenseless people in harm's way in Kashmir? Why are we so eager to push Kashmiri Hindus back into the valley in the name of jobs, in the name of homes and resettlement, in the name of rebuilding Kashmir of the yore, without even doing the necessary groundwork, without even acknowledging what drove them out in the first place? My state is unwilling to recognize my genocide. My state is unwilling to punish those genociders. My state is unwilling to reach out to victims and survivors with compensation and justice. And my state is unwilling to do all these things, but willing to push us back, eager to push us back in the name of jobs, in the name of elections, in the name of reclaiming homes, in the name of revisiting temples, in the name of recreating that Kashmir which existed before 1990. So today the blood is in the hands of those who made this office insecure for Rahul Bhat. And people could come in with impunity and shoot him dead and get away. Who are these people who put Rahul Bhat in the chair where he was awaiting his death? Who are these people who put pilgrims for Amarnath Yatra in the harm's way and get them killed like sitting ducks? Who are these people who want to push Kashmiri Hindus back as hostages in the hands of jihad to be killed at will? Why don't they first recognize this genocide, punish these genociders, deliver justice, deliver compensation, and clear Kashmir of this wanton killing, this killing machine? Why don't we first break the back of jihad, defang jihad, and then think of doing these cosmetic things? The time has come to ask this question because the policies we follow are lopsided, are cockeyed. They are uninformed. They are unwilling to learn. And they are seeking certificates to their liberalism and secularism from jihad itself.
This is
the problem we face.
This is the problem we face. I want to go back in just a few moments, of course, to our reporter on the ground there, who's bringing us these pictures, viewers, as a hunt has been launched for these two pistol-bearing terrorists who went out there and committed this dastardly act. Now, Ishan, what are you seeing around you right now? Where are these two individuals? How could they have just melted into the cityscape?
Well, what we are seeing is that top officials from the CRPF and other forces are visiting the spot and trying to see, where from they came and what really transpired during that particular time. Now, the entire area, as I said earlier, has been cordoned off, and they are trying to pick any suspects, if possible, in the locality, possibly overground workers or, those who provided information. Because generally, we have seen that information is provided on the ground from the local source, and that is based on which these attacks are carried out. We have seen in the past as well, whenever such kind of targeted attacks have taken place, there are modules which have been busted, generally of overground workers who not only provide logistics but also provide information about presence of certain people and individuals who are on their list to be targeted. And that is why police wants to see that if there is any role or involvement of OGWs in this case, because without the help of OGWs, police says that it's not possible for the militants to survive, because they believe that this is their oxygen and this is from where they are able to sustain on the ground. Now, repeatedly, as I said earlier, that the only way the police is pointing out at is that particular lane. They say that they came precisely from there and then they entered this particular building, opened fire. But as I said earlier also, that this is precisely what they do. They fire, attack and try to leave from the area as soon as possible.
Well, stay on with me. I want to bring in Sanam Shah of the Congress, if he can hear me now and if he can respond. Sanam Shah, this is a simple and straightforward question. Your leadership at the state level and at the center mocked the movie Kashmir Files, which precisely focused on this dimension of what we are seeing in Kashmir. You are an accomplice, by extension, in the murder of Rahul Bhat, because you soft pedal this kind of Islamist hate. You trivialize it. You mock it.
Thank you, Mr. Rahul ji. I am telling you, firstly, sir, Kashmiri file film not solution Jammu and Kashmir. And firstly, I am telling you my question for Narendra Modi, not for Prime Minister of Pakistan. Sir, Hindu Kashmiri and Muslim Kashmiri, who is suffering? Sir, BJP is suffering. BJP is responsible.
Sanam Shah, if you were so concerned about Hindu and Muslim lives, Sanam Shah, if you were so concerned about Hindu and Muslim lives, why did you not punish Yassin Malik? Why did you not punish Yassin Malik? You had governments at the center, you had governments at the state level. Why did you not punish Yassin Malik? Who is the face of radicalism? Why did you not punish him?
I am telling you, sir, यहाँ पे नौजवानों की लाशों के ऊपर
पनिश क्यों नहीं किया? मैं आपसे सवाल पूछ रहा हूँ, आपने उनको पनिश क्यों नहीं किया?
बात नहीं करेगा सर,
आपने उनको पनिश क्यों नहीं किया? आपने यासीन मलिक को एक भगवान क्यों बना दिया? I am asking you this. You deified this man.
Sir, I know DSP Talvinder Singh is terrorist.
आप मुझे
अभी
ये
तक आपने उसको बेल
बताइए,
पे
you
नहीं
tell me,
निकाला।
how
I
did
don't
you
know who is
manage
Yasin
to shield
against
Yasin Malik for 35 years? Why did you give him legitimacy? That's the question I'm asking you. Why did your Prime Minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh, Congress leader, invite him and get him
Dr. Manmohan
photographed?
Singh handshake Yasin Malik, नरेंद्र मोदी जी बिरयानी खाने के लिए पाकिस्तान जाते हैं।
मैं आपसे
और
पूछ रहा हूं,
आपने
सर,
आपने
उस आदमी को क्यों अपने प्राइम मिनिस्टरियल नहीं, आपने अपने प्राइम मिनिस्टर के ऑफिस में उसको बुलाया, क्यों बुलाया? ये सवाल आपका जवाब नहीं आएगा इस पे, बिकॉज यू आर एन अपॉलजिस्ट फॉर दिस एंड आई वांट टू ब्रिंग इन मिस्टर पंडित ऑन दिस क्वेश्चन.
अरे आप क्या बता रहे हो टीवी में कि
Congress
मनमोहन
tonight?
सिंह पर यासीन
Would you
मलिक
like to
हाथ चला
respond
रहे
to
हैं?
the Congress tonight?
आप क्या हाथ कह रहे हैं? अरे देश के प्रधानमंत्री बिरयानी खाते हैं जाके पाकिस्तान में, और पाकिस्तान को जो जवाब नहीं दे पाते हैं. आज भी पाकिस्तान कहता है मैं हिंदुस्तान से युद्ध नहीं करूंगा. 4 साल बीजेपी को दे दो.
सनम शाह, आज आपके हाथे रंगे हैं. Your hands are covered in blood. You gave legitimacy to terrorists. This is inexcusable. 1 minute. Let me bring in Mr. Pandit. Mr. Pandit, yes. I want to bring in Aarti Tikku also right after that. Yes.
Rahul, unfortunately, Congress has transformed itself into the new Muslim League. What was happening to us in the 40s is now reminded to all of us, because there is a party that refuses to see any crime in this genocide, that chooses to fight with and sit with genociders and justify their crimes instead of at least ritually condemning and criticizing it. The transformation of Congress into Muslim League is complete, is 100%. There is absolutely no doubt about it. The entire state Congress in J&K has been handed over to valley politicians who have hopped into it from National Conference and PDP. There is no Jammu representation in that Congress, and those who speak for the Congress from Jammu are worse than those who speak for it from the valley. So the transformation in this party is complete. It identifies with jihad, it supports jihad, and it wins on jihadi vote from Wayanad. It has run away from North India, it has run away from Amethi, and it seeks that constituency which promotes jihad deep south in Kerala. So I have absolutely no expectations, no illusions to lose as far as Congress is concerned. But my question comes back to those who are responsible for our security. Don't they see the threat to the lives of Kashmiri Hindus in Kashmir? Day after day, we are treated like sitting ducks.
I contradict, sir.
Don't they see the risk of living in Kashmir? And yet they want to push us there at the altar of their misperceived secularism in order to seek some certificate of restoring a semblance of normalcy, a chimera of normalcy, a concocted normalcy, which comes down crashing every time they have a nice headline or a great footage of some jhaki going out or some tirangas fluttering atop shikaras. You cannot...
Well, let me very quickly go across to Aarti Tikku. Aarti Tikku, this is a serious turning point right now. This was an individual who got a job from the Prime Minister's quota. This is not something that is abstract in nature. This is intended to send a chilling message that the valley can only be for those that share a mindset that has seen the purge of anyone who doesn't share this caliphate outlook.
Rahul, I and my siblings are in Kashmir. In fact, I travel Kashmir quite frequently. My brothers are there working in Kashmir. And if something happens to us, you would know who did it and why it was done. But apart from that, I really want to mention two things. One, it's quite clear that this nexus between mainstream politicians of Kashmir, including intelligentsia and intellectuals of India who justify Islamic Jihad, also a lot of people within the current dispensation also who are going out of their way to, make peace with those or try to rope in or bring them back in the mainstream politics, who are desperate to, bring the Abdullahs and the Muftis and all these families which were part of this nexus, which destroyed Kashmir and which are responsible, culpable for the massacre, the genocide of Kashmiri Hindus. So somewhere I think, I agree with Sushil ji that the government will have to really acknowledge the genocide of Kashmiri Pandits. There has to be a consensual outlook or point of view on the genocide of Kashmiri Pandits. Kashmir Files was made, but even on that, so much politics was done. A whole section of the Indian ruling class and the political class, they called it a lie. A whole section, was completely dismissive and was almost in denial about the genocide of Kashmiri Pandits. But more than that, the government has to acknowledge, has to accept that there has been a systematic genocide against Kashmiri Pandits. Third, I want to say, well, it's not only Kashmiri Pandits' responsibility to go back to Kashmir. The rest of India has to also go back to Kashmir. Because if Kashmiri Muslims or Kashmiri Pandits can go to the rest of the country and settle down, the rest of the country has to also take some responsibility. Why should it be only Kashmiri Pandits taking bullets? The rest of the country has to also share that responsibility, also contribute to the sacrifice that we have.
Listen now to reactions coming in. I completely agree with you there. Aarti Tikku, I completely agree with you. Yes, there has to be a vocal expression of support and, most importantly, solidarity. Now,